I knew something was off the second she ordered the wine. Not the wine itself. That was normal. She always picked the most expensive bottle on the menu, laughed like it was charming. But tonight, it was the tone in her voice. That performative cheeriness, like she was playing to an audience. Not for me. I looked across the table at her friends, glamorous, polished, some of them mildly drunk already. They had that group energy, inside jokes, matching laughs, and the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you're on the right side of the social table. I wasn't. It was the fourth or fifth time I joined her on one of these nights, post-work dinners with her crew from the agency, a PR firm that traded in chaos and image. She said it helped to have me there, that it meant a lot, but I think the real reason was simpler. She liked showing me off, just not for the reasons I thought. So, tell us again, her friend Bree said, what is it you do exactly? That word, exactly, stung more than it should have. It was the second time someone at the table had asked me that tonight. I gave the same answer I always gave. I run a hospitality group, I said, keeping it light. We own a few restaurants around the city. Some of them you've probably been to. There was a pause, then a soft chuckle from across the table. Madison, her coworker with the tight curls and sharper tongue. Oh, like a manager? She said, eyebrows raised. Or like front-of-house vibes. There it was, the subtle slice beneath the words. I glanced at my wife, hoping she'd chime in, defend me. But instead, she smirked and reached for her glass. No, she said, waving her hand. He's not a real chef or anything. He mostly deals with spreadsheets and staff stuff. He loves to say he runs things, but let's just say he's more back office chic. Laughter. Real, genuine laughter. From all of them. Not cruel, not loud, but the kind that tells you you're the punchline in a room full of people who think they're being harmless. I smiled politely, stirred my drink, swallowed the knot rising in my throat. I should have left. I should have excused myself, walked out, maybe even called them on it. But I didn't, because in that moment, I wasn't even angry. I was numb, because this wasn't new. It had been happening in small doses for months. These little digs, the slow unraveling of who we used to be. I used to be someone she looked up to, someone she leaned on. Somewhere along the line, that changed. I became the background, the safe one, the one she didn't have to impress, the one she could mock. So, how do you two even meet? One of the women asked, stirring the ice in her cocktail. Before I could answer, my wife jumped in. Oh God, it's actually kind of cute, she said. He was running a little bistro downtown, and I came in with some coworkers. He comped our dessert, and I thought, look at this guy, trying his best. More laughter. That's when I realized she was drunker than I thought. Not just on wine, on power, on approval. And still I sat there, smiling, pretending I didn't feel like my chest had caved in. That's when the waiter came. He was young, probably no older than 25, crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled just so. He approached with the confidence of someone who knew exactly where he was going, smiled at me like we were old friends. Mr. Rowan, he said, your regular table's open if you'd like to move. The whole table paused. My wife blinked. Regular table? The waiter nodded. Yes, sir. Right by the wine wall. You usually prefer that one, don't you? He turned to her, smiled warmly. Glad to see you back. Haven't seen you here in months. Something shifted. The temperature of the table dropped. Everyone went quiet, except for the clink of a fork dropped by one of the women. Wait, Bree said slowly. This is your restaurant. I nodded once, calmly. One of them. The silence that followed was perfect. Not angry, not awkward, just realization. I pushed back my chair, stood slowly, looked around the table. Enjoy the wine, I said, then looked at my wife. It's on the house. And with that, I followed the waiter. The new table was quieter, tucked in the corner, just like I liked. A better view of the room, better light. A subtle nod from the sommelier confirmed they were already decanting my favorite vintage. I sat down, and for the first time that night, I took a breath that didn't hurt. Across the room, I could feel their eyes on me, could see the gears turning in their heads. The same man they just mocked, reduced to a side character, was someone they'd walked past a dozen times, never knowing he signed their checks. I should have felt smug, but I didn't. I just felt tired. And underneath the weariness, something colder. Resolve. Because this wasn't about one dinner, one joke, one moment. This was about something that had been breaking for a long time. And tonight, it finally cracked. I didn't go home that night. I told the staff to close early, just for the night. Something I rarely did, but they didn't ask questions. They'd never seen me look like that before. I sat in the wine room long after the guests were gone, nursing a glass of Pinot and staring at nothing. My phone buzzed a few times. Her name lit up the screen. I didn't answer. Not because I was angry, though maybe I should have been, but because I didn't trust myself to speak yet. I didn't want to say something I couldn't walk back. I just needed space to think. She came home late. I could hear her heels click against the hardwood, followed by the soft thud of her purse hitting the counter. I was still at the restaurant when she walked into the house we shared. The house we built, or thought we built. She left me a voicemail. One sentence. Can we talk? I didn't reply. Not that night. The next morning, I came home early, before the sun was up. I made coffee like I used to. Quiet. Measured. Routine. She came downstairs still in her robe, mascara smudged, hair undone. She looked smaller. She didn't say anything right away. Just stood there, watching me stir in a splash of cream. Then she spoke. I didn't know. I nodded slowly. I figured. She bit her lip. Why didn't you tell me? I looked up at her, really looked. I did. You just stopped listening. That landed harder than I thought it would. We sat at the table in silence. The same table where we used to plan vacations. Where we talked about dreams, about maybe starting a family. Now, it felt like neutral territory in a Cold War neither of us declared, but both of us knew was coming. I didn't mean to embarrass you, she said softly. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You didn't embarrass me. You embarrassed yourself. I just happened to be there when it happened. She flinched. And for a moment, I hated that. I hated that I could still hurt her just by telling the truth. I thought we were a team, I said, quieter now. But lately, it's like I've just become the guy who funds your wardrobe and keeps your wine glass full. She looked away. Her fingers twisted the cord of her robe. It's not like that, she said. But even she didn't sound convinced. I believed in you, I said. In us. When you were starting out, I supported everything. Your career, your goals, even when it meant late nights and canceled plans. I never made you feel small for chasing your ambition. She nodded, eyes glassy. I know. Then why did you do that? I asked, finally letting the question hang between us. Why laugh at me in front of them? Why act like what I do doesn't matter? She didn't answer right away, just pressed her palms to her eyes and let out a breath. I got caught up, she whispered. With them, with how things look. I don't know. It just felt easier to laugh with them than to explain how much you actually do. That stung more than anything else. That she didn't think I was worth explaining. That being seen next to me was something she felt she needed to defend, or worse, downplay. I leaned back in my chair. The coffee had gone cold. Do you remember when I signed the lease for that first cafe? I asked. You brought cupcakes to the ribbon cutting. Told everyone you were proud of me. She nodded, lips trembling. What happened to that? I said. Her eyes finally met mine. I don't know, she said. Somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you. Really seeing you. We sat there in the silence that followed. Not angry, not dramatic, just tired. Two people who had once been everything to each other, now sitting in the ruins of all the little moments they let slip. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said again. I know, I said, and I meant it, because it wasn't malice. It was neglect. It was ego. It was letting other voices get louder than the one that mattered most. But knowing that didn't make it easier. It just made it sadder. That afternoon, I went back to the restaurant. Worked the floor for a while. Said hi to regulars. Shook hands with the chef. Pretended everything was normal. But something had shifted. Not between her and them. Between her and me. And I wasn't sure it could shift back. It was a Thursday night when she tried to make it right. She called ahead, used a different name for the reservation, probably thinking it would go unnoticed. But of course my staff caught it. My maitre d', Carlos, flagged it the moment it popped up in the system. She's coming in, he said, handing me the list. Dinner for two. Same name she used to laugh at on her Instagram stories. I didn't say anything at first, just stared at the name. She had made a reservation at my place, hoping to hide in plain sight. I nodded slowly. Give her the same table, I said. The one by the window. Carlos raised an eyebrow, but didn't question it. He knew me well enough by now. When she walked in, she was dressed like she always used to for our anniversaries. Simple, elegant, black silk and a faint trace of the perfume I once bought her in Paris. She looked around like the place felt foreign, even though she used to sit in the corner booth on Friday nights. laughing over truffle fries. She wasn't with her friends tonight. Just one man. Older. Polished. Trying too hard. He wore a watch that cost more than a month's rent and talked loud enough for the next table to hear his job title. He didn't know where he was. But she did. She saw me when I came around the corner, walking the floor with a bottle in hand. I didn't stop. Just nodded. Polite. Distant. Like she was any other customer. But her eyes told a different story. They followed me the whole time. When the waiter came with the wine, her favorite, the one I used to keep in the back just for us, she froze. He ordered something else, the waiter said. But we upgraded. On the house. She stared at the label, then looked across the room at me. I could see the question in her eyes. Why? I didn't answer. Not with words. She raised her glass slowly, like a truce offered without expectation. I didn't raise mine back. Because some things don't get fixed with wine. Later, when the check came, she reached for her card, but the waiter shook his head. Already taken care of, he said. The man she was with frowned. By who? And that's when she realized. I wasn't doing this for her. I was doing it for me. To close the book, finally. To end it with quiet dignity. The same way I had endured her slow unraveling of who I was. One dinner, one joke, one public slight at a time. As they left, she hesitated by the door. I saw her linger, like maybe she'd say something. But she didn't. Because there wasn't anything left to say. We had already said it all. In silences, in side glances, in the little moments where love used to live. And as she stepped out into the cool evening air, I felt something leave with her. Not grief. Not loss. Just wait. Later that night, I locked up myself. Walked the floor one last time. The table by the wine wall was still set, untouched, waiting for someone who wouldn't be coming back. And I felt free. Because sometimes, the loudest closure is the quietest exit. And when they laugh at your name, your job, your worth, let them. Just make sure the table they laugh from belongs to you.